The final warning. The Galactic Assembly's grand chamber stretched impossibly high, its crystalline dome capturing the light of 3 suns. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before the Council of Elders, her ceremonial dress gleaming with the subtle tech weave that marked humanity's defiance of assembly regulations. Behind her, a holographic display showed Earth's latest achievement, the successful manipulation of a quantum consciousness field, a technology the Assembly had declared too dangerous for younger species. "You leave us no choice, Ambassador Chen." Elder Vaxthal's resonant voice filled the chamber. The Arcturian's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with what Sarah had learned to recognize as barely contained fury. Humanity has violated the Technology Containment Act for the last time. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "The act you implemented after discovering our quantum computing breakthrough. Or perhaps you mean the restrictions added when we developed efficient antimatter storage." She gestured to the assembled representatives of over 300 species. "How many of you have had your own advancements mysteriously classified as restricted technology shortly after achieving them?" Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Centaurian delegation's crystalline forms vibrated in what Sarah knew to be agreement. They had faced similar restrictions a century ago. "Your accusations are dangerous, Ambassador," Elder Kai Yexan of the Mareth Confluence hissed, their feathered crest rising in agitation. "The Assembly has guided species development for 50,000 years. Our wisdom, your wisdom." Sarah interrupted, triggering gasps from the more traditional members. "Or your fear. Our analysts have decoded your patterns. Every time a younger species approaches a technological threshold that might challenge the elder races, new restrictions appear." She tapped her wrist console, and a holographic display shifted to show a timeline of technological advances and subsequent assembly restrictions. The correlation was unmistakable. "Humanity will not comply with the latest restrictions," Sarah declared. "We will not halt our quantum consciousness research. We will not dismantle our antimatter facilities, and we will not submit to your oversight committees." Elder Vaxthal rose from his gravity throne, his massive form towering over the chamber. "Then you leave us no choice. By unanimous decision of the Council of Elders, humanity is hereby expelled from the Galactic Assembly. All trade rights, technological sharing, and diplomatic recognition are revoked. Earth is quarantined, effective immediately." The chamber erupted in chaos. Younger species representatives argued amongst themselves, while the elder races maintained their typical aloof silence. Sarah stood unwavering, her augmented eyes recording everything for later analysis. "Before I go," she spoke, her voice cutting through the din, "I should thank you. You've given humanity exactly what we needed, freedom from your constraints." She turned to address the younger species directly. "To any who wish to remember this moment, remember that Earth's quantum communications channels will remain open. Remember that we achieved in centuries what many of you were told would take millennia. And remember that when the Assembly tried to clip our wings, we chose to soar instead." As Sarah walked out of the chamber, her quantum implant was already connecting to Earth's defense network. Operation Prometheus was ready to begin. The Assembly thought they were containing a threat. Instead, they had just unleashed humanity's full potential. The journey back to Earth was tense but purposeful. Sarah's ship, the ESS Artemis, carried more than just Earth's former ambassador. Hidden in its quantum-encrypted databases were the final pieces of evidence her team had gathered, proof of the Assembly's systematic suppression of technological advancement across the galaxy. As Earth's solar system came into view, Sarah stood on the bridge, watching the massive orbital shipyards that the Assembly had never known about. Hundreds of ships were under construction, each incorporating technologies that would have been instantly restricted had they been revealed. Her quantum comm pinged with a priority message from Earth Defense Command. Dr. Marcus Rivera, head of the Quantum Consciousness Project, had achieved another breakthrough. Sarah smiled. The Assembly had just made the biggest mistake in its 50,000-year history. They thought they were punishing humanity. Instead, they had removed the last restraints holding back a species that had survived ice ages, plagues, and their own destructive potential. A species that had gone from horse-drawn carriages to interstellar travel in less than 3 centuries. The assembly had forgotten the most important lesson about humans. They performed best when backed into a corner. And now, humanity had the entire galaxy as their laboratory, free from the assembly's restrictions. The real question wasn't whether humanity would survive the quarantine. The question was whether the assembly would survive humanity's response. Silent revolution. Dr. Marcus Rivera stood in the heart of Quantum Lab Zero, deep beneath the Atacama Desert. The facility hummed with energy as quantum processors calculated possibilities across infinite dimensions. But today was different. Today, they weren't just processing data. They were processing consciousness itself. Neural interface stable, announced Dr. Yuki Tanaka, her hands dancing across holographic controls. Quantum field coherence at 98%. She looked up at Marcus, eyes bright with anticipation. This is it. We're ready. The lab had changed dramatically in the 6 months since Earth's expulsion from the Galactic Assembly. Without the need to hide their advanced technology, they'd finally been able to build openly, to push boundaries that had been artificially constrained for decades. Marcus approached the central chamber where a small drone hovered, its crystalline structure gleaming under the lab's lights. This wasn't just any drone. It was the first device equipped with their experimental quantum consciousness core. If it worked, they would have achieved something the assembly had deemed impossible: true artificial consciousness. Initiating consciousness transfer, Marcus announced. The drone's crystal matrix began to pulse with soft blue light. Beginning personality imprint. The quantum field rippled, visible only through their augmented reality displays. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the drone moved, not with the rigid precision of a machine, but with the curious hesitation of a newborn. "Hello," the drone spoke, its voice carrying subtle inflections that no traditional AI could replicate. I am aware." The lab erupted in cheers, but Marcus kept his focus on the readings. This wasn't just a technological breakthrough. It was proof that humanity had already surpassed the assembly's alleged technological superiority. "Is quantum calm?" chirped with an incoming message. Ambassador Chen's face appeared in his neural interface. "Tell me you have good news, Marcus. The assembly just sent their first enforcement fleet to strengthen the quarantine." Marcus smiled. "Sarah, we did it. True quantum consciousness. And that's not all. The breakthrough confirms our theory about the assembly's tech restrictions. They weren't just holding us back. They were hiding their own limitations." Sarah's eyebrows rose. "Explain." "The assembly's restrictions on quantum research. They weren't about safety. They were afraid we'd discover that their own quantum technology is centuries behind what they claimed. Their wisdom was just a cover for maintaining power through artificial scarcity." The implications were staggering. The assembly's entire power structure was built on the myth of their technological superiority. But humanity had just proven that myth false. In the following weeks, Earth's hidden shipyards began incorporating the quantum consciousness technology into their newest vessels. Unlike traditional ships, these would be truly alive, able to think and adapt in ways that would revolutionize space combat and exploration. But Marcus had bigger plans. In his private lab, he was working on something even more revolutionary. The quantum consciousness breakthrough had revealed patterns in the universe's fundamental structure that the assembly had either missed or deliberately ignored. "Dr. Rivera," his lab AI announced, "you have a priority message from Luna Command." The message was brief but momentous. The assembly's enforcement fleet had been detected approaching the Kuiper Belt. They were about to discover just how far humanity had come. Marcus sent a command through his neural interface, activating Project Oracle. Across Earth's solar system, quantum sensors came online, creating a consciousness network that spanned space itself. Every ship, every station, every defense platform became part of a single aware system. In the Atacama lab, Marcus watched as real-time data flowed through the quantum network. The assembly ships were impressive by conventional standards, massive dreadnoughts bristling with weapons that could crack planets. But to humanity's quantum-enhanced sensors, they looked primitive, like sailing ships trying to fight a modern navy. "Sarah," he called through the quantum comm, "the defense network is ready. Should our visitors try anything aggressive, they're in for quite a surprise." The assembly had expected to find a cowed, isolated humanity struggling under their quarantine. Instead, they were about to encounter a civilization that had transcended their understanding of what was possible. As Marcus watched the assembly fleet approach, he couldn't help but smile. They thought they were coming to enforce restrictions. Instead, they were about to become witnesses to a technological revolution that would reshape the galaxy. The quantum consciousness drone hovered near his shoulder, its crystalline structure pulsing with awareness. "They fear what they don't understand," it observed. Marcus nodded. "They do. But fear can be overcome with understanding. The question is whether they're ready to understand just how much the universe has to offer when you stop trying to control it and start trying to comprehend it." The first contact with the assembly fleet was approaching. Humanity's silent revolution was about to become very, very loud. The Perseus Gambit. Captain Diana Wells stood on the bridge of the ESS Perseus, Earth's first quantum consciousness integrated warship. The vessel wasn't just equipped with advanced AI. It was alive, its crystalline neural pathways threading through every system, every bulkhead, every weapon. "They're still following our ion trail," Perseus communicated directly through Diana's neural link. The ship's consciousness had a distinctly feminine personality, analytical but with an undercurrent of excitement. Assembly pursuit fleet holding at 2 light-years distance. Diana smiled. Everything was going according to plan. The assembly had expected their enforcement fleet to find a helpless Earth. Instead, they'd encountered a unified defense grid that had politely but firmly denied them entry to the solar system. Their subsequent attempt to establish a blockade had been met with something even more unsettling. Human ships that simply ignored their supposedly superior technology. "Status of the quantum fold drive?" Diana asked, though she could feel the answer through her link with Perseus. "Charged and ready," the ship responded. "The assembly still hasn't detected the system's energy signature. Their sensors are primitive." The Perseus Gambit was humanity's first major operation since their expulsion. Its objective wasn't combat. It was demonstration. They were about to show the galaxy exactly what humanity had achieved in secret. "All hands," Diana announced shipwide. "Prepare for quantum fold transition. This is what we've trained for." The assembly had banned research into quantum folding centuries ago, claiming it was too dangerous for lesser races to attempt. Now humanity was about to prove that they'd not only mastered it but improved upon it dramatically. Perseus's consciousness expanded through the ship, synchronizing with every crew member's neural implants. The quantum fold drive began to spin up, its energy signature masked by technology the assembly couldn't even detect. "Assembly pursuit fleet is launching long-range scanning probes," Perseus reported. "They still think we're planning a conventional FTL jump." Diana took her command chair, feeling the ship's excitement mirror her own. "Let's show them something new. Execute quantum fold on my mark." The assembly's probes were nearly in position. They would have front-row seats to what came next. Mark. Reality twisted, not in the crude way of conventional FTL drives, but with elegant precision. Perseus didn't just travel through space. It folded space itself, creating a quantum bridge between 2 points in the universe. When they emerged, they were no longer in deep space. They were in high orbit around Centauri Prime, the home world of one of the assembly's most restless member species. "Quantum fold successful," Perseus announced with pride. "All systems nominal." Assembly pursuit fleet, still at their previous position, attempting to predict our FTL vector. Diana opened a channel to Centauri Prime's orbital control. "This is Captain Diana Wells of the Earth ship Perseus. We bring greetings and an invitation to dialogue." The response was immediate and astonished. The Centaurians, their crystalline bodies visible through the video link, were vibrating with excitement. They had just witnessed something their assembly overlords had told them was impossible. Earth vessel Perseus, the Centaurian controller, responded, "Your arrival method is unprecedented. The assembly has always claimed such technology was beyond current science." "The assembly claims many things," Diana replied diplomatically. "We're here to show you what's actually possible when artificial restrictions are removed." Over the next few hours, as the assembly pursuit fleet scrambled to figure out where Perseus had gone, Diana and her crew shared their findings with the Centaurians, not just about quantum folding, but about the assembly's systematic suppression of technological advancement. The Centaurians were ready listeners. They had their own history of suspicious restrictions and blocked research. As Perseus's quantum sensors monitored the approaching assembly response fleet, Diana could see the crystalline aliens' growing understanding. "They will be here soon," the Centaurian Prime Minister stated, their crystalline form resonating with determination. "They will demand we reject your presence." Diana nodded. "They will. And what will you tell them?" The Prime Minister's crystal structure emitted a pattern that Perseus's consciousness translated as wry amusement. "We will tell them that we are exercising our sovereign right to diplomatic relations, and perhaps we will mention that our scientists have some very interesting questions about quantum physics." Perseus detected the assembly fleet preparing for FTL transit. They would arrive in less than an hour, expecting to find a diplomatic incident they could use to further isolate Earth. Instead, they would find the beginning of a new coalition. The Centaurians weren't the only species tired of assembly restrictions. They were just the first to see proof that those restrictions were based on lies. "Additional quantum signatures detected," Perseus reported suddenly. "Multiple vessels emerging from fold space." Diana smiled as 5 more Earth ships appeared in formation around Perseus. Each was equipped with quantum consciousness technology. Each represented capabilities the assembly had deemed impossible. "Now," Diana said to both her crew and the watching Centaurians, "let's show them what happens when you try to cage human ingenuity." The assembly was about to learn a harsh lesson. In trying to contain humanity, they had only guaranteed our explosive growth. And this was just the beginning. Ripples of change. The Galactic Assembly's emergency session was in chaos. Delegate after delegate rose to speak, their voices filled with outrage, not at Earth, as the Council of Elders had expected, but at the Assembly itself. Ambassador Sarah Chen watched the proceedings from Earth's former diplomatic chamber, now repurposed as an observation post. The Quantum Consciousness Network allowed her to monitor every conversation, every private meeting, every subtle shift in the political winds. "The Centaurians have released their findings," her aide reported, his neural implant streaming data directly to hers. "Full confirmation of our research about the Assembly's technological suppression. 3 more species have already requested diplomatic channels with Earth." The Assembly chamber's massive screens displayed evidence that could no longer be ignored. The Centaurian scientists had independently verified humanity's discoveries, proving that quantum consciousness, fold space technology, and dozens of other restricted fields were not only possible but had been deliberately suppressed. Elder Vaxthal attempted to call for order, his bioluminescent patterns flashing with stress. "These accusations are baseless. The Technology Containment Act has protected galactic stability for millennia." "Protected your power, you mean?" came a new voice. The Raxus representative, a species that had faced restrictions similar to humanity's, rose from their delegation pod. "Our archaeologists have discovered evidence of quantum technology in our ancient ruins. Technology we were forced to abandon when we joined the Assembly. Technology you claimed was theoretical." Sarah watched as more delegations joined the chorus of dissent. The Mareth confluence, once staunch Assembly supporters, were now demanding explanations for centuries of restricted research. The Proxima Coalition had already announced they were suspending compliance with Assembly technology protocols. Through her quantum link, Sarah received a priority update from Dr. Rivera's team on Earth. "Ambassador," his excited voice filled her mind. "We've done it. The quantum consciousness network has decoded the assembly's ancient database encryption. You need to see this. The data streamed directly to her neural interface, and Sarah's eyes widened. This wasn't just evidence of technological suppression. It was the assembly's entire history. The elder races hadn't achieved their position through natural development. They had systematically stolen and suppressed technologies from younger species, maintaining their power through carefully constructed myths of superiority. Perseus Actual, requesting diplomatic channel. Captain Wells' voice came through Sarah's quantum link. The Earth ship had become a symbol of resistance, having now demonstrated quantum-fold technology to a dozen different species. Channel open, Diana. What's the situation? The Centaurians weren't the only ones watching our demonstration. We got ships from 15 different species requesting quantum consciousness integration protocols. The Assembly's technology monopoly is breaking down in real time. Sarah smiled. This was more than just resistance. It was revolution. Not through violence, but through the simple act of sharing knowledge. The Assembly had maintained power by keeping species isolated, dependent, and technologically stagnant. Humanity had broken that cycle not by destroying the system, but by proving it was built on lies. In the Assembly chamber, a new motion was being presented. The Centaurian Prime Minister, their crystalline form radiating authority, called for an immediate restructuring of the Assembly's governance. No more Council of Elders, no more artificial restrictions on research and development. We stand at a crossroads. The Prime Minister's translated voice echoed through the chamber. For too long, we accepted the myth that some species were naturally superior, naturally more suited to advanced technology. Earth has proven that myth false. Now we must decide. Do we continue to live under artificial constraints, or do we embrace true collaboration and progress? The vote that followed was unprecedented. Species after species declared their support for reform. The Council of Elders, for the first time in 50,000 years, found themselves facing a united opposition. Sarah opened a general broadcast channel to Earth's quantum network. Operation Perseus is entering its final phase. All ships, prepare for synchronized fold jumps. It's time to show the galaxy what unrestricted human ingenuity looks like. Across known space, Earth's quantum consciousness-enhanced ships emerged from fold space in key locations. Each carried technological innovations that the Assembly had deemed impossible. Each represented humanity's message to the galaxy. Progress cannot be contained. The Assembly had thought expelling Earth would contain humanity's influence. Instead, they had created the perfect conditions for their own obsolescence. As Sarah watched more species break away from Assembly restrictions, she realized that humanity's greatest victory wasn't in developing new technology. It was in showing the galaxy that anyone could do it, if only they dared to try. The ripples of change were becoming a tidal wave, and the old order was about to be swept away. New Dawn, the new Galactic Concordats inaugural assembly, looked nothing like the old assembly chamber. Gone were the hierarchical tiers that had physically separated the station's quantum sensors detected a small fleet approaching through conventional space. Assembly ships still clinging to their outdated technology. They had been making desperate shows of force since their power began to crumble, but each demonstration only served to highlight how far behind they had fallen. "Let them come," Admiral Wells said, watching the approaching ships through the quantum network. "They need to see what they fought so hard to prevent. A galaxy united by progress instead of divided by fear." The assembly ships entered visual range, their once imposing bulk now seeming antiquated compared to the quantum-engineered station. A transmission request came through on old-style communication channels. "This is Elder Vaxthal," the familiar voice crackled. We request dialogue." Sarah smiled. "Open a quantum channel," she instructed the station's consciousness. "Show them what cooperation really looks like." As the quantum network reached out to embrace the assembly ships, Marcus reflected on humanity's journey. They had been expelled from the galactic community for refusing to be contained. In breaking free, they had liberated not just themselves, but hundreds of species from artificial constraints. The new dawn wasn't just about technological advancement. It was about proving that progress didn't have to be feared, that species could rise together rather than being held back by the fears and insecurities of those who came before. As the assembly delegation was escorted into the Concordat chamber, Sarah exchanged glances with her colleagues. The old order was finally ready to learn what humanity had known all along, that true strength came not from controlling others, but from growing together. The quantum network hummed with possibility, carrying the combined knowledge and potential of hundreds of species. This was humanity's gift to the galaxy, not the technology itself, but the proof that impossible things became possible when artificial limits were cast aside. The new dawn had arrived, and its light would shine on all species equally, elder and younger species. Instead, representatives from across the galaxy gathered in a vast, quantum-linked space, their consciousness networks allowing direct, unfiltered communication. Dr. Marcus Rivera stood beside Ambassador Sarah Chen, watching as the quantum consciousness network they developed connected hundreds of species in ways the assembly had claimed were impossible. The chamber itself was a testament to human innovation, a space station constructed using quantum folding technology, allowing instantaneous travel from any connected world. The final vote is starting, Sarah noted, her augmented senses tracking the quantum signatures of each delegation. 287 species, voting as equals for the first time in galactic history. The former Council of Elders had boycotted the proceedings, but their absence only highlighted how quickly their power had crumbled. Once their technological suppression had been exposed, their authority had evaporated like morning dew under triple suns. Quantum network registering final inputs, the station's consciousness announced, its voice resonating through the shared mental space. Vote tallying complete. The results materialized in the center of the chamber. An unanimous decision to ratify the Concordat's founding principles. Unrestricted technological research, open sharing of scientific discoveries, and mutual defense against any attempt to reimpose the old restrictions. Captain Diana Wells, now Admiral Wells, approached their position. The Perseus had become a legend, its quantum fold drive now standard technology across the new fleet of exploration vessels. The Centaurian expeditions just reported back, she said. They found 3 more civilizations the assembly kept hidden from us. Pre-spaceflight species they were protecting by preventing contact. Protection through isolation, Marcus mused, just like they tried with us. The quantum network hummed with activity as the newly discovered civilizations were discussed. Under the old assembly, they would have been left alone for millennia, their development artificially stunted. Under the Concordat, they would be welcomed into the galactic community as soon as they achieved spaceflight, which, with carefully shared technology, could be within decades rather than centuries. Sarah stepped forward to address the chamber. As Earth's representative to the Concordat, she had helped shape its founding principles. The age of artificial constraints is over, she announced. But with freedom comes responsibility. We've seen what unrestricted progress can achieve. Now we must ensure it benefits all species, not just a select few. The quantum network carried her words directly into the minds of every representative, translated perfectly across species barriers. The Assembly's translation technology had been another deliberately hobbled system, designed to maintain distance between species. The quantum consciousness network eliminated such barriers entirely. Already, we're seeing advances that the Assembly claimed were impossible, she continued. The Rexes have combined their ancient quantum theories with human innovations to create entirely new fields of physics. The Mareth confluence has integrated their biological technology with quantum consciousness systems. This is just the beginning. Marcus watched the proceedings with satisfaction. The quantum consciousness technology that had started this revolution had evolved far beyond its origins. Every ship, every station, every piece of advanced technology now carried a spark of awareness. Not artificial intelligence as the Assembly had feared it, but true consciousness, born from the quantum fabric of reality itself.